Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Yonit Arthur. You are on the Steady Coach. And today, as part of the ongoing Ask Dr. Yo series, which is a series of unedited videos in which I answer your questions, I'm going to be tackling why dizziness symptoms tend to get worse when you're feeling sick. And unfortunately, this is just in time for all those nasty and unpleasant germs that are floating around this time of year. I get a lot of questions and comments about this time of year. So I wanted to address this. And primarily, the purpose of this video is to give you some reassurance. So here's the reassurance, and then I'll explain a little bit about why this happens and generally why it's not something that I expect to last beyond your illness. So don't worry about it. So the reassurance is it is normal for people with chronic dizziness symptoms to find that their symptoms temporarily get worse when they are ill. And now we're going to talk about why. So the first reason, there are three. The first reason is that when you are sick, your immune system obviously is active. So your body sends signals, hey, there's a foreign invader here, ramp up the immune system. And part of the immune system's function is to turn on what I think of as your braking system. And that's not braking like smashing a window, but rather braking like slowing down a car. So you have a natural braking system. And what this braking system does is it basically has a set point at which it says, you know what, you might run out of energy, so it's time to slow down. Normally, when you're feeling good, your body feels pretty balanced in its resources. That braking system doesn't kick on until your gas tank, so to speak, of energy is relatively low. But when you're sick, your body is trying to preserve as many of its resources as you can so that you can fight off this foreign invader or illness. And so it sets that breaking point much higher. So you can kind of think of it really just like a calibration problem, like a gas tank that has its E mark, its empty mark, just set a little bit higher than normal. So it's giving you the alarm, the gas nearly empty alarm when you still have a quarter of a tank left. So, of course, while you're sick, your body is going to essentially be trying to get you to rest and preserve resources. And in conjunction with this process, you are going to feel unwell. That's why you feel unwell when you're sick. But it's also why your dizziness symptoms may ramp up because currently your brain is also utilizing dizziness symptoms to get you to slow down. So you can kind of think of it like your E signal, that little red light that comes on your dashboard in your car to let you know your gas tank is almost empty. For you, that is currently using dizziness as the signal. So that's reason number one. Reason number two is that dizziness when you're sick is normal. And that's dizziness kind of just from any general cause. It's not specific to the vestibular system. People have general dizziness, lightheadedness, floatiness, just offness when they're sick. I remember when I had the flu back in 2020, this was right before the pandemic started. My first symptom was back pain, strangely enough, because as some of you know, I recovered from chronic back pain. So when my danger mode signal goes off, often it shows up temporarily as back pain. But then after that, it was depersonalization and dizziness. And these are not symptoms that I was typically having at the time. But within 6 hours of those symptoms showing up, I was in bed, very ill with the flu. So again, normal sensations. Now, I know the degree to which you're experiencing these sensations is greatly ramped up compared to what someone else might feel, but that's because right now, as you're recovering from chronic dizziness symptoms, your brain is extra sensitive to sensations of dizziness in general. So even if the dizziness has a completely different cause, it's just your body being sick, your brain looks at dizziness and says, oh no, this is more of that really dangerous stuff that, tells us everything's dangerous and everything's really bad, and it's focusing your attention on it more. In other words, turning the volume up on it so you're going to notice it even more than someone who isn't suffering from chronic dizziness symptoms right now. And the third reason is that Illness causes physiologic changes, and often a lot of these illnesses are upper respiratory illnesses that affect your head and neck a lot. So they're affecting your sinuses, they're affecting your throat, they're affecting your nose. So these are systems that are pretty close in proximity to the organs that control your balance system. In other words, your vestibular system, which is housed deep inside your inner ears. So these changes that happen in your head and neck when you're sick have the capability of potentially temporarily impacting the function of these organs. Now, if you're hearing this and you're freaking out, again, this is normal and really could happen to anyone. When you have sinus pressure, a lot of people will notice, that their ears feel full, that they don't hear as well. Sometimes they'll feel a little off balance when that's happening. And that's simply because our inner ears, well, they do a lot of things, but they do a lot of the functions that they do by detecting pressure changes. And if you have abnormal pressure in your middle ears, in your head and neck, it is possible that that could potentially mildly affect the function of your inner ear and produce, again, just a little bit of a deviation or a little bit of a difference from what signals those ears are normally receiving and then sending to the brain. Now, for most people, that little bit of a change may not affect them. They may not notice a big change in their dizziness or in their vestibular function. But for someone who's already really sensitive to these things, and this is what I really want to drive home, when your nervous system is already sensitive to changes in your vestibular system, whether that's completely a brain issue or whether that's because you originally had some kind of vestibular problem that led to your symptoms in the first place, your brain's going to react very strongly to that. So again, these kinds of mild physiologic changes that happen with illness are normal, but for most people, they're not going to lead to a significant dizziness because their brains aren't really worried about dizziness or about vestibular signals being a little off. They can compensate for any little mild changes that happen. But for you, your brain is already having a tough time putting all this information together. So just a little bit of a change in that system, again, even though it's temporary and not dangerous, is going to really ramp up your brain's response and really ramp up that danger mode cycle that we talk about in all the other videos. So I hope that those three explanations made sense to you. And again, really, the purpose of this video is reassurance to let you know that there's a physiologic reason and a neural circuit reason why symptoms can get worse when you're sick. And all of the things that I'm talking about are temporary things. So as you get better, as your immune system calms down, as those physiologic changes clear up, when you also at the same time realize these changes are normal, there's nothing horribly wrong, you're going to get better right afterwards, it's going to be fine. You're going to go back to your baseline after you get better from this illness. So please don't worry. For once, I know one of the tricky things about chronic dizziness recovery is knowing how much do I rest? How much do I not rest? Do I listen to my body when it's telling me to sit down? When you're sick, listen to your body, rest. Listen to what your body is saying. The braking system is on for a reason. Get your rest, get your fluids, do all the things that you would normally do to recover from an upper respiratory or other illness. And on the other end, you're going to be back to your baseline and you can continue on with your chronic dizziness recovery. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Questions or comments about this one, please drop them below. Looking forward to hearing from all of you. And as usual, if you could like this video, share it, subscribe to my channel, or if you're listening to this as part of a podcast, you can follow the podcast. All of these things help me reach more people. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon and stay healthy out there.